Claiborne stood by the hangar outside of Studio 11 and gazed at the last two standing neonates with a look of cold indifference. But any that dared to scrape under that monstrous veneer would see a modicum of compassion. The albino bald bat like Nosferatu shook his head slightly. His subordinates moved away and out of sight. "I suppose we're now bound to one another," he said menacingly. Delta moved suddenly towards Claiborne. The elder Nosferatu security detail moved to intercept, but Claiborne held up a single gloved finger to halt them. Delta hugged Claiborne, despite how it looked, despite the subtext of their boon to him. Delta cried a tear of blood. The once pristine liquid latex she poured to hold the illusion of her human face was in shambles, and the muscle fibers shone through in patches. Thank you," said Delta with true gratitude. The ice that was sculpted onto Claiborne's face chipped ever so slightly. His lip managed to move in something that somewhat resembled a smile. He held Delta's head and hugged her back. It was said that God looked over children and fools, and it was clear that this band was both of those things. He saw something in him that reminded him of times he had with people he had lost long ago, and he decided he could afford to be more man than monster to this lot. Delta was too traumatized to think about the implication of what an elder monster's generosity was worth. At this moment, all she could feel was elation that she managed to at least save one of her friends. Pally smiled, but he by no means could ignore what was going to come from accepting this elder's help. But he let Delta soak up the thrill of being alive for another moment. "Bring out your friend," Claiborne said to Pally. Pally reached into the now quiet little bird, put on his cowboy hat, then pulled his torpid friend Synth out of the back. He placed him at Claiborne's feet, then rolled back the blue tarp so he could see the broken mess. The elder Nosferatu kneeled down and rolled up his wrist. He removed the glove on his left hand to reveal long, claw-like nails. He pushed the claw into his wrist and let the blood dribble into the younger broken vampire's mouth. In Synth, there was subtle movement, like one waking up from a nightmare. When the dead stirred, Claiborne's men held him down. Synth began to thrash, jerk, and snap like a greedy, hungry monster. Claiborne doubled down and put his wrist to Synth's mouth until the thrashing settled and the blood brought him to consciousness. Claiborne covered himself back up and stood. His men didn't let the neonate go until he didn't resist at all. Synth looked to the congregation of faces and spoke with a broken face. "Did I hit 300? Delta and Pally smiled in relief, then bent low and gave the battered kindred a hug. Claiborne looked down at the neonates with some measure of sternness, but not as performative as before. "I suppose I don't have to tell you not to leave the studio, do I?" Claiborne said with authority and menace. Pally tipped his hat in acknowledgement and nodded with clear understanding. Claiborne turned and re-entered his Audi, then drove away as fast as he came. "I can't move," Synth said to his coterie mates. "Your legs will come back soon, buddy. Why don't you just promise me you'll never do anything that stupid again?" Pally said. Synth turned his eyes to look Pally's way. "You know it's impossible to tell an idiot not to be stupid, right?" said Synth. Pally smiled and put his hat on Synth's face playfully. Outside of Formico Studios, Chima turned her back to Sid and Alan so that she could change into a shirt that wasn't ripped in the back. She lifted her long hair up to get into the black t-shirt. Sid had been dead for a while, but he couldn't help but to glance at Chima's seductive silhouette. She moved to get into her Lexus as if she weren't even going to address Sid or Alan before she left, but Sid spoke because it felt wrong not to. "How the did you move that fast, boss? I didn't even see you until you staked that first one," said Sid. Chima half looked at Sid as she opened her car door. It was clear she was conflicted about if she should even entertain this frivolous interaction. "Years of discipline," she said as she leaned in to get into her Lexus. "Nice working with you, Sheriff," Alan blurted to Chima's now closed car door. She peeled off without another word. "Damn, she really hates us, don't she?" Alan said to Sid. Yep, Sid replied matter-of-factly. Why? Asked Alan. Fuck if I know. I figure we're all headed that way eventually. Then what? Then I don't fucking know, that's what. We got 30 minutes till sunup. Sid looked away as if frustrated by Alan's existential question, but slowly turned his head back to the overeager Thin Blood. You want to watch Jackass 3? Alan nodded, and the two monsters drove home.